book summary. Let's just hit some points. Chapter 1 starts.
Chapter 1, that was where we met McGonagall, we met Dumbledore, we met Hagrid, we met Harry, we met the Dursleys. We find out that Harry's parents have died, and he's being left with the only family he has left at 1 year old. And that's basically the first chapter.
Yep. Chapter 2.
Go for it. The Vanishing Glass.
We find out that Harry has some interesting abilities, basically, which is that he can make glass vanish. Wait. Yeah, the vanishing glass, that's right. Basically he can make things happen.
It's 10 years later. It's Dudley's birthday.
Oh,
they go to the zoo. Yeah.
They go to the zoo. He was gonna have to stay with the neighbor lady, but he didn't have to.
But she broke her leg. She tripped over a cat.
Yep. Broke her leg. And Dudley's all upset. And they end up going to the zoo. And he ends up talking to a snake, even though he doesn't know how it happened. And then he gets upset because Dudley pushes him while he's having this conversation with the snake. So he somehow magically makes glass disappear. And then Dudley falls into the snake habitat. And
you're telling the movie version.
Oh, that's right.
Well, remember in the book we have Piers, who we do not have in the movie, Dudley's best friend. The three of them go. Right. The two boys are bullying Harry the whole entire time. Yep. The two boys are bullying Harry the whole entire time. They get over by the snake, and the snake's asleep, and they're banging on the glass and stuff, and it doesn't move, and they go off to do something else. And then Harry starts talking to the snake, and then he runs back over, shoves Harry out of the way. Harry gets mad. The glass disappears. The snake slithers out. And by the time they get home, the story has escalated to the snake, came after them and tried to kill them. And
yep. And Pierce in the car, he's like, "Oh yeah, Harry, you did that, right? You were talking to it, right?" And Bert is like, looking all side-eye, getting angry, right? Having to try to keep his composure because Pierce is there.
And then we go into chapter 3, the letters from no one. And so Harry's on his longest ever punishment because of the boa constrictor thing. And so he's locked in his cupboard until the summer. And then all of a sudden, these letters start coming, and they're addressed to Harry, but nobody knows. Or Uncle Vernon's trying to keep Harry from getting these letters. And Harry's trying to figure out who the heck is sending him these letters. And the letters just keep coming, and the letters just keep coming. And Uncle Vernon loses his mind.
They're hidden everywhere.
They're in the windows,
in the eggs, in the,
they're coming down the chimney, in the mail slot. Uncle Vernon thinks he's good on Sunday because there's no post, but little does he know he's wrong because owls. And the letters just keep coming. And then Uncle Vernon loses his mind, and they end up in some shack on a rock in the middle of the sea. And it doesn't really matter because in the middle of the night, while they're sleeping, as it's about to become Harry's birthday, there's a banging outside.
Bang, bang, bang. And then we hit chapter 4, the Keeper of the Keys, which we come to find out is Hagrid. And basically, I know, it's so exciting. Hagrid comes in, and Hagrid is like, "Happy birthday, Harry." And it's very exciting, and he tells him like what's going on. He's like, "I'm the keeper of keys at Hogwarts, but you know all about Hogwarts, right?" And he's like, "No, I don't." Like, "What do you mean you don't know about it?" He's like, "You need to have this." And he finally gives him his letter. He's like, "Here, read it." And he's like, "I'm a what?" And so he finds out that he's a wizard and that he comes from a pretty like great line of wizards. Well, he doesn't really find that out, but he finds out that he could potentially be a pretty powerful wizard. And Hagrid,
and then he's famous.
Yeah, and then he's famous. Hagrid starts taking all sorts of hilarious things out of the multiple pockets in his coat, one of them being an owl, and he's like, busts out his little owl, writes a little note, and he's like, "I gave Harry his letter, Professor Dumbledore. The weather is terrible. See you later." And chucks the owl out the window, like, "Good luck, bro." Let's see what else happens in this chapter. Oh, Harry finds out who killed his parents. Finds out his name is no, we can't say his name. Okay, try to spell it, Hagrid. Try to spell it. No, I can't spell it. Okay. Voldemort. But don't make me say it again. And
because all this time he thought his parents died in a car crash.
Oh yeah, and there's a whole kerfuffle about that because he finds out that the Dursleys have been hiding all of this information from him for 10 years.
They knew he was a wizard.
Yeah, and they were trying to stamp it out of him.
Guess that explains why he lived in a cupboard.
Yep. And Uncle Vernon said, "I'm not paying for some crackpot old fool to teach him magic tricks." And instead, they pretty much run him out. And Hagrid has some delicious things in his pockets. What is this?
A birthday cake for Harry, some sausages. Yeah. He throws on the fire that he lights with his pink umbrella.
Yeah, and then Harry gets to sleep with the coat on top of him as a blanket. And he's like, "Don't mind if it moves, because there might be some dormice in there."
In the pocket. And then he wakes up in the morning and there's like an owl dropping off a newspaper and pecking at him. And Hagrid's like, "Yeah, just pay him. It's in the pocket."
Yeah, just pay him. Pay him some of those little coins. And then they get up and they go to Diagon Alley.
Chapter 5.
That's right. And he gets to see all the cool places that wizards are at. Well, first they go to the Leaky Cauldron to get in, right? And that is where he finds out for the first time that he is super, super famous because everybody's like, "Harry Potter!" Like if it's like, I don't know, who?
And he finds out there's a Ministry of Magic and they talk about dragons. And Harry has a list and he's like, "Can I get all this stuff in London?" And Hagrid's like, "You can if you know where to go."
Yep. And so they go to Diagon Alley. They go to Gringotts. He sees goblins for the first time. And they go to an interesting, they go to 2 different vaults. And one of them is a very important vault that I guess was being rented out by Hogwarts, by Dumbledore. And then they go to Harry's, and he finds out that he is loaded, massively loaded, right? And then so he goes shopping for all of his school supplies. And then Hagrid buys him his first ever birthday present. Well, that he remembers. An owl, and he names her Hedwig. And then it's time to go back to the Dursleys for another month or so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He went to Ollivander's, he got his wand, he gets all of his stuff, and then he has to go back to the Dursleys for a month. He looks up and Hagrid is gone.
It's basically like they're just ignoring him for the most part.
Yeah, now we're in chapter 6, the journey from platform 9 3/4, and he's spending the last month there. They're basically ignoring him. He's good with that. He asks Uncle Vernon to give him a ride to King's Cross Station on the 1st so that he can go to platform 9 3/4. And we talked about how friggin' rude Uncle Vernon was, giggling to himself, knowing that there's no platform 9 3/4, but just leaving him at the station with his luggage, like, yeah, okay, bye, have a good turn. And then Harry's trying to figure it out, and then he hears somebody say the word muggles and realizes, boom, there's some magic people here. And he turns around and he sees a plump woman with all of her children, and they all have flaming red hair, and this is the intro to the Weasleys. And so he asks her about how to get onto the platform. She introduces him to Ron and says, oh, it's Ron's first time too. And of course, we know that just cements a lifetime friendship right there. And so he meets the twins who go through first, and then he goes through with Ron, and then they go through, they get on the train. Ron figures out that he's Harry Potter, and they both realize that, like, you know, they both have things in common. Harry never had any money or anything like that, or any family. Ron doesn't have any money, but he has lots of family. Ron's always lived in the magical world. Harry lived in the muggle world. So they just become fast friends and immediately ask each other all the questions they want to ask about stuff that you can't normally ask people. Yeah. And then Harry buys every single candy and goodie on the trolley cart, and they pig out. And he has his first chocolate frog where he gets a Dumbledore card. And then they try every flavor beans, and then Hermione comes in looking for Neville's frog, and she's Little Miss Bossy Pants, and Ron can't stand her immediately from the first meeting. And then she tells them they should get their robes on because they should be getting there soon, and then Draco and his friends come in, and Draco's like, yeah, you should be friends with the right kind of people, and Harry's like, yeah, I think I'll figure out the right kind of people on my own, thanks. And then they leave and get their robes on and get ready to arrive at Hogwarts, and Hagrid takes them off the train and takes them to the front door. And then we get to chapter 7, the Sorting Hat.
Yep. Yeah, they're on boats. They go into the castle for the first time, and they officially meet Professor McGonagall. And she's like, all right, here's how it goes. We are doing the sorting ceremony, so just chill for a minute and we'll call you back in. And he's like, do we have to do a test? What do we have to do? What is this? And the twins lie to Ron and tell him that they have to battle a dragon or something. And they just have to put on a hat. And everybody gets sorted. And, well, the hat sings a song also. And everybody gets sorted. And, of course, the hat is super confused about where to put Harry, and Harry's just like, please don't put me in Slytherin, please don't. And the hat's like, but you would do great in Slytherin. And he's like, just not Slytherin. And he's like, all right, well then Gryffindor. So of course Harry's in Gryffindor, Hermione's in Gryffindor, Ron's in Gryffindor, everybody's in Gryffindor. But of course Malfoy's in Slytherin. And all of a sudden food appears on everybody's plates like magic, because it is magic. And everybody gets to talking, and it is Harry's first time that it's like he feels like he belongs somewhere. You can see him looking around and talking to all these people, and everybody has the same odd experiences in their youth, and he's like, I'm not alone. Wow.
We're all here and nobody knows anything.
Yeah. And of course, Dumbledore shows his odd true colors in everybody singing the Hogwarts song at their own pace and rhythm. And we meet ghosts, right? We also meet ghosts because there are house ghosts and other ghosts that just roam the land at Hogwarts. And then they all go to bed. And then we meet the Potions Master.
Chapter 8. So now everybody's looking at Harry and pointing it out. Oh my God, look, it's Harry Potter. It's Harry Potter. And they're getting lost because it's the first week and there's 142 staircases and they move and all sorts of things. And then there's Peeves running around, you know, stealing noses and, you know, dropping things on people and just basically being a nuisance. And then there's Filch and Mrs. Norris wandering around, and they go through their week and have astronomy at midnight up in the tower, and they have potions down in the dungeon, and they have transfiguration with Madame McGonagall, Professor McGonagall, and they have charms with Professor Flitwick, and they just have all this stuff that they're figuring out and learning, and it's all very different from any school Harry's ever been to before. Professor Quirrell teaches Defense Against the Dark Arts, also down in the dungeon. He was wearing a big, giant purple turban, and he stutters, and everybody is just like, okay, what a friggin' weirdo, and he smells strange. And then they go down one morning, and they have double potions with Professor Snape and the Slytherin house. And immediately, Professor Snape just doesn't like Harry and picks on him and bullies him and does what he does. But Harry's not fazed because he's been picked on and bullied all his life by worse than Professor Snape. So they learn a few things here and there, and then they leave potions class, and except Neville spills some potions all over himself and gets boils, which of course makes Snape dislike Neville as well, and another kid that he just bullies the heck out of. Anyway, Harry gets his first points taken off, and they finish up and they head down to go see Hagrid so that they could tell him about how the first week is. They meet Fang. They get offered rock cakes, and they realize that Hagrid can't cook. And so they're down there, and they're learning things about Hogwarts and all of that. And then Harry sees the newspaper, and it says that Gringotts got broken into, and the vault that was broken into was the other vault, not the Potter vault, that he and Hagrid visited the day that they went to Gringotts. And as Harry and Ron walk back to the castle for dinner, Harry's kind of trying to figure out, like, what's going on, what was in the package, and what did Harry collect, and what does Hagrid know about Snape that he's not telling Harry. Bum, bum, bum. And then we move into Chapter 9, the Midnight Duel,
where we get to know about Quidditch. So the Midnight Duel is basically a chapter that wasn't even in the movie. It's about Quidditch, and Neville has a remembrall, and all of a sudden they're at Quidditch practice, and Madam Hooch is the Quidditch coach / teacher / something. And Neville, like, they're all learning how to fly for the first time. Well, some of them for the first time. Neville, who is really, really clumsy, ends up breaking his arm, and he loses his remembrall. And Harry gets it when Draco takes it away and throws it, and then Harry goes and grabs it, and Professor McGonagall's like, oh, you're going to be on the Quidditch team now. And some other stuff that's not so important. And then they have a midnight duel because Malfoy is like, I want to fight you, Harry Potter. And Ron's like, I'm your second. Ron's like, Harry's like, what's a second? And so they say that they're going to fight each other. And Filch is going to catch them, but he can't catch them. And what else?
So essentially, Malfoy set them up. Filch was chasing them. They ran into the door on the 3rd floor corridor and ran into the 3-headed dog.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
And then we get to chapter 10, which is Halloween. And it's the next morning. Yeah, the next morning, Malfoy is all surprised to see that Ron and Harry are still there, thinking they were going to get expelled, but they got away. And then, this is when the troll comes into play. The troll comes in the dungeon. Hermione's hiding in the bathroom because Ron had said, no wonder she doesn't have any friends. And she was crying all afternoon in the bathroom. So they go down to tell her the troll's there, accidentally lock the troll in the bathroom with her, and then have to go save her. And they manage to overtake the mountain troll. And then McGonagall and Snape and Quirrell come in to find the troll knocked out, and Hermione's like, it's my fault, I thought I could take him, and they saved me. And so from then on they were friends. And then we move into chapter 11, which is Quidditch.
So at this point in time, Harry is on his broom on his first Quidditch match, and his broom goes haywire, and they're like, what's going on? And then they think that it's Snape, so Hermione's like, I'll fix it, and she runs and knocks Quirrell over as she's running and tries to set Snape on fire, and then
set Snape on fire.
Yeah, and then the shaking on his broom stops, and then Harry gets the snitch, and they win, and
he catches it in his mouth.
Yeah, he catches it in his mouth, and they think that Snape's out to get him, and they're telling Hagrid, like, we think Snape's trying to get whatever Fluffy's guarding,
and they tell Hagrid. And Hagrid's like, hogwash, because Snape is trying to protect it. And he wouldn't do that. And that's not what's happening.
12, the Mirror of Erised.
Oh, yeah.
It's Christmas.
Yep. And so...
It's Christmas. Harry gets an invisibility cloak from a secret admirer, and a bunch of other presents. His first Christmas, that's so happy. And he uses his invisibility cloak to go and roam the castle and go to the restricted section, trying to find things about Nicholas Flamel, who we find out is one of the people that has something to do with the Sorcerer's Stone.
Well, they don't know it's the Sorcerer's Stone yet. They're still trying to figure out what's down there, but Hagrid had mentioned Nicholas Flamel. He said it was between Dumbledore and Nicholas Flamel. And so now they're trying to figure out who Nicholas Flamel is.
And he doesn't But he does find the mirror of Erised, and he sees his parents for the first time sitting in the mirror with him, and his whole family. Like, well, many people who he doesn't even know who they are, but they all look like they have some of his features, like they share features.
He takes Ron to try to find the mirror, and Ron sees something different, and then they're arguing over looking in the mirror, and then Harry sneaks out again and goes to the mirror, and that's when Dumbledore finds him sitting there, and Dumbledore's like, oh, back again, huh? He's like, I'm going to move it tomorrow, and I need you to not go looking for it, okay? And he's like, okay.
And then we go into chapter 13, where we find out who Nicholas Flamel is. And it was all because of a chocolate frog card, because Neville was being bullied and Harry gave him the chocolate frog, and he was like, you're worth like 12 of Malfoy, so don't worry about it. And he's like, oh, Harry, don't you want the card? You collect them. And then it was Dumbledore on the card, and they found out that Dumbledore and Nicholas Flamel worked together. And then they find out that it was because Nicholas Flamel is the only known maker of the Sorcerer's Stone. And they find out that that is what Fluffy is guarding. That's it. Then we move on to chapter 14, which also doesn't exist.
Well, they have a Quidditch game, and that's the one where Snape referees.
Yeah.
And then we move into chapter 14, which is Norbert the Norwegian Ridgeback. And
so they go visit Hagrid, and Hagrid has
a dragon egg.
Yay!
And so Hagrid hatches a dragon, and this dragon takes over his life and is shaking his house and lighting things on fire and all this stuff. And Hermione and Ron and Harry are super stressed out. And then Malfoy finds out about it, and now they're even more stressed out because it was bad enough without Malfoy knowing. But now Malfoy knows, and he says he's going to tell. And so they get in touch with Charlie, and Charlie makes arrangements for his friends to come and pick up the dragon. They sneak out at midnight under the Ron's not there because Ron got bit by the dragon while trying to help Hagrid feed it and ended up in the hospital wing. And then Malfoy finds out that they're going to sneak the dragon out, and he goes and sneaks out to tell and get them caught, but they have the invisibility cloak, and so they get the dragon away safely, and then they get super happy that they got rid of the dragon, leave the invisibility cloak at the top of the tower, come down, and Filch catches them.
Yep.
And then we move into chapter 15, the Forbidden Forest.
Which is detention. The kids have to go into the forest with Hagrid. And so it's Draco and Neville and Harry and Hermione and Hagrid and Fang, and they go into the forest to look for a unicorn that has been hurt. And Neville
shenanigans ensue.
Neville and Draco are paired up, and that's not good.
That was just dumb to begin with.
Draco scares the crap out of Neville, and Neville sends up red sparks, and they had to switch partners because that wasn't good. So then they're looking for the unicorn, and they find big pools of blood, which is silver. And then eventually Harry and Draco, who are now paired together, find it. And there's this hooded figure sucking its blood. And then it's chased away. It's trying to attack them. Draco runs away. It's trying to attack them, but they meet a centaur, and the centaur is protecting Harry, and the hooded figure glides away, and then the centaur lets Harry ride on his back, which is a big no-no in the centaur community, and he lets him ride back to safety to Hagrid. And then we jump into and then he gets his invisibility cloak back
at the end of the chapter.
Yeah. And then they go through the trap door, which is chapter 16.
And so this is where they go through all of the little protections being kept around the Sorcerer's Stone. So they have to get past Fluffy, who the secret is play music. They drop down through the trapdoor, get stuck in Devil's Snare.
Which is Sprouts. Professor Sprouts.
Yes, Professor Sprouts. Hermione figures out with some little rhyme how to get through the Devil's Snare. Then they go down and they end up in a room with a ginormous chess set. And
no, first is the troll, right?
I thought the troll was after.
Was it?
Yeah. I think they do the chess set. Ron gets knocked out. They leave him there. Him and Hermione go forward, and they go through the room with the troll and end up in the room with the potions. Because they end up not having to do anything with the troll because it's already knocked out because of whoever went through the first time.
No, it's the keys next.
Oh, I forgot about the keys. You're right.
Yeah.
So the Devil's Snare and then the room with the keys where they get on brooms and they have to catch the key to get through the door. All three of them have brooms. They corner the key. Harry catches it, go through the door. They're in a giant chess set. They each become a piece.
After the keys is the troll.
Oh, okay. Well, they run through a stinky room with a knocked out troll that they don't have to fight because whoever went through before them already beat the troll. Then they get to the giant chess set where they each become a piece. Ron being a knight and being high up on a horse so that he can, because, you know, he's the wizard chess player, so he commands the whole game. They checkmate, but in order for Harry to get checkmate, Ron's piece has to get knocked out. So the queen, the White Queen, knocks out Ron's piece. Ron's knocked out. They check on him after the game's over, make sure he's okay, go to the next room. Find out it's potions. Oh.
The troll is next.
After the chessboard, right?
Sorry. Yes, after the chessboard.
Yeah. And because in my mind, I'm like, only Harry and Hermione ran through the troll room. So it had to be after the chess.
Yep.
So then they run through the troll room. And then they get to the potions room and Hermione gets all excited because she's like, oh, it's logic. And so she logically figures out how to go forward through the purple fire and back through the black fire, or vice versa. I can't remember if the purple's in front or the black's in front, but either way, one will get you through the purple, one will get you through the black. Harry tells her, take the one that's going to take you back. Go get Ron, go get Dumbledore. I'm going to go forward and hold him off until you get Dumbledore. And Harry takes the potion that's going to take him forward. He goes in, and there's somebody in the room, but it's not Snape.
And it wasn't even Voldemort. It was Quirrell. And so this is the final chapter. The man with two faces. He finds out that Quirrell has been the instigator all along. And that the reason why...
Voldemort lives on the back of his head.
Yeah, because Voldemort was in the back of Quirrell's head, inside of his turban, all this year. This entire year. Voldemort has been living in the back of Quirrell's head. And Voldemort's like, I want the stone, and the Mirror of Erised is in the room, and Harry Potter ends up getting the stone just by standing in front of the mirror, and he tries to lie his way out of it, saying that he sees something else. But Voldemort's like, he's lying. And then they fight. And then Quirrell can't touch him because he's basically boiling. And they fight. Well, they fight by Harry touching Quirrell and Quirrell not being able to touch Harry. You know, for magical people with wands, like, they never used the wands in this entire chapter. Like, he's an adult man with a wand, and instead he's putting his hands on a kid. Where's your wand, dude?
Trying to strangle him.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing ever. The most, like, human thing ever. And then basically Harry passes out, and then he wakes up in the hospital wing, having Dumbledore having pulled him off of where Quirrell pulled him off of Harry, and then I guess Dumbledore took care of Quirrell. We don't really know that. And then he's like, you basically defeated Voldemort. Congratulations. And I'm gonna try a Birdie Bots every flavor bean after so long, and it's earwax flavored. And then Dumbledore still can't tell him the information that he wants to know, of course, as is all the time. And Flamel will no longer, they're going to destroy the Sorcerer's Stone so that Voldemort can't come back, and Flamel's going to die, but that's okay because he's lived 665, almost 66 years. And the end of year feast comes, and Dumbledore gives extra points to Gryffindor, and Slytherin doesn't win because Neville wins, and everybody is like, yay, Gryffindor wins.
And then they go home for the summer.
Yeah.
Yay! And that's book 1. Okay, we're running a little bit behind schedule. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through the crafts later. What we're going to do now is we're going to talk about the takeaways, and we're going to have our special guests join us because they were asked to bring takeaways as well. So,
yep, bring them in.
Coming in now.